You will remember that Saul was prophesied that he would be king, and then he was anointed king. He didn't want to tell his father after the prophecy. He hid among the baggage before they anointed him. He's been apparently living a private life, plowing with his oxen. And then the Ammonites come and they threaten a certain town, a certain area in Israel, and they say, either we kill you or you submit to us. And here's how you submit to us. You allow us to poke out all of your right eyes as a sign that we have overcome you. And they ask for help, these poor besieged people who are about to be halfway blinded. And when Saul hears about it, he's enraged and he cuts up the oxen and sends the various pieces of his oxen to different tribes in Israel. And he says, you either come help me rescue our fellow countrymen, or this will happen to your own oxen. And they gather together and they defeat the Ammonites. And the Israelites are so overjoyed that Saul, even volatile Saul, who seems to be led mostly by his emotions more than anything else, that Saul has in fact stepped up to the plate and become the king he's been anointed to be and become the leader that he should be in this situation. They're so excited about this that Samuel says, we are now going to publicly proclaim you king. Now, the older ritual must have been private or semi-private, the one where he was hiding among the baggage, and now it's going to be public, or at least that's what the commentator said that I found here. This is Bible Hub. This is the final verse in our reading from Samuel today. So all the people went to Gilgal and made Saul king in the presence of the Lord. There they sacrificed fellowship offerings before the Lord, and Saul and all the Israelites held a great celebration. So the commentator here, Ellicott's commentary, I think is pretty interesting. And he takes just the phrase, and they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. He says, we must not understand what the Septuagint, that's what LXX stands for, the Septuagint version is the Greek translation of the Old Testament. We must not understand with the Septuagint version that Saul was anointed afresh at Gilgal. The Greek version reads, and Samuel anointed Saul king there. The Gilgal convention was nothing more than a solemn national confirmation of the popular election at Mizpah, the earlier one where Saul was hiding among the baggage. And then he focuses on this, the words, they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. What does that mean? The words before the Lord imply the presence of the Ark of the Covenant, or of the high priest with the mystic Urim and Thummim. These were the divining instruments. At any rate, the idea is you've either got the Spirit of God present through what the Jewish priest used to divine his will, or you actually have the ark there, which is why we are told they made Saul king before the Lord. Bishop Wordsworth understands the words, they made Saul king, to signify that after this, the people would not allow him any longer to lead a private life. But they made him to assume the royal state and authority to which he had been appointed by God. In other words, Peter and James and John can't go back to being fishermen after the crucifixion and the resurrection and their 3 years with Jesus. You can't go back again. You cannot, like Lot's wife, turn back when you're leaving Sodom. Otherwise, you will be turned into a pillar of salt. No one who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. Saul is entered into a new phase of his life. He doesn't seem to want to. He wants to continue plowing with his oxen and being a private or semi-private person, but he's demonstrated that he's made to be the king and to be a leader if he can really consistently step up to the plate. Now, there's a connection here between this reading and our reading in Luke for today, which is the finding in the temple, one of the joyful mysteries, also one of the 7 sorrows of Mary, because of course, Mary and Joseph were extremely sorrowful, thinking that they had lost Jesus, their son. the Messiah, no less. And when they find him, Jesus said, "Why were you upset? Did you not know that I must be about my Father's business, or that I must be in my Father's house?" Those are the two main translations of what is said in Greek. The original Greek is vague. Jesus says mostly, "Did you not know that I would be about or I would be about this, or I would be about everything here," is kind of what he's implying using the phrase that he uses in Greek. The first recorded words of Jesus, by the way, at the age of 12. And sometimes that's translated, "Did you not know I would be in my Father's house," the temple? Or, "Did you not know I would be about my Father's business," or dealing with all these things concerning my Father? Because Mary says, "Your father and I have sought you worrying." And he refers to his true father, not to Joseph. "Did you not know I would be about my Father's business in my Father's house?" Jesus knows what his vocation is. He knows who his true father is. He knows what his Father's business is. Saul hasn't quite figured that out yet. Maybe he never will. But there comes a point where we have to recognize our true paternity. This guy I discovered on the internet who's really cool, his name is Paul Lee, and he's 90 something years old. He's become one of my buddies. And he has a website where he's put up a lot of lectures and speeches, and he's taught at all these different colleges. At any rate, he says that as a child one day, he looked at his mom and dad while he was coming down the steps in his house, and he wondered, "Are these really my parents?" I don't know if you guys have ever felt that, but you look at your weird and bizarre parents and you wonder, are they really related to me? Or was I dropped off on their doorstep by gypsies and they simply found me? Or did I come from aliens from outer space? And he says, Paul Lee says, the doubt about our paternity is the beginning of philosophy. In other words, when you wonder who your true father is, now most of us know who our true biological fathers are, or who our stepfathers are, or whoever happens to be raising us as father. But who's our spiritual father? To whom do we really owe allegiance? What are we really called to beyond the mere circumference of our original family? Because what is our paternity? Who our father is defines who we are and who we are called to be. This is why kids who grow up either with absent fathers, fathers who have abandoned the family, or with fathers who are troubled, who are in prison, or who have done terrible things, this is a real psychological burden on kids, because we are made to look towards the idea of father as being like our Father who art in heaven. The Father, our fatherland, the great ideal of what America ought to be. These are the things that call us out of ourselves. Jesus recognizes that. Even Mary and Joseph don't at that moment. And I don't think Saul does, but the Israelites do. And the Israelites know this man is our father. He is our king. We must publicly proclaim him king. This is the man we need. And his righteous indignation and his anger in the face of the Ammonites shows that this is what Saul is made for. But can he live up to it? We know that Jesus did. Can Saul live up to his true paternity, his true vocation, his true calling? And can you, dear students?